You are living inside a reality that is constantly responding to you. Not later, not someday in the future, right now, in every moment. Reality is not static, and it is not separate from you. It is interactive. It listens. It mirrors. It answers. Every thought you sustain, every emotion you repeatedly inhabit, every belief you quietly accept as truth is being transmitted outward, shaping the field around you. And the field, without judgment or delay, is responding with exact accuracy. The universe is not a distant force that needs convincing. It is not something you must plead with or struggle against. It is not withholding, testing, or deciding whether you are worthy. It functions more like a perfectly obedient servant, responding faithfully to the signal you emit. The key realization is this: the universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you are being. It responds to your energetic signature. Your energetic signature is the sum total of your dominant emotional state, your underlying beliefs, and the assumptions you hold about yourself and life. This signature becomes the template through which reality takes form. The vibration you emit determines the experiences that crystallize into your physical world. This is not poetic metaphor or spiritual exaggeration. This is the mechanics of manifestation operating at the deepest layer of reality. Before going further, pause for a moment and allow this idea to land. Say it inwardly, or speak it aloud if you can. I am a conscious creator, not as a motivational slogan, but as a recognition. By acknowledging this, you interrupt old, unconscious patterns. You signal to the quantum field that you are ready to move from reacting to reality into consciously participating in its creation. Most people have been taught that manifestation requires effort, force, and control. You have likely been conditioned to believe that you must chase what you want, hustle relentlessly, push harder, and prove your worth through exhaustion. In this model, creation is framed as a battle. Desire becomes something external, always just out of reach, requiring constant striving. But what if this entire framework is backwards? What if creation does not respond to force at all, but to resonance? What if the universe is not an obstacle you must overcome, but a mirror that reflects the state of your consciousness with flawless precision? In this view, your life is not something happening to you. It is something unfolding through you. This is where many teachings on manifestation fail. They emphasize techniques without transformation. They promote affirmations repeated mechanically, without belief. They encourage visualization detached from embodiment. They turn the universe into a transactional system, as if reality were a machine that dispenses rewards when the correct words are entered. But the universe does not operate transactionally. It operates vibrationally. It reads beneath your words. It responds to the feeling behind your intention, the emotional tone beneath your thoughts, the truth you are holding in your body. You cannot deceive it with positive language while carrying fear, lack, or doubt internally. The signal beneath the signal is what determines the outcome. At the physiological level, every emotion you experience generates an electromagnetic frequency. This is not symbolic language, this is measurable. Your heart produces an electromagnetic field that extends beyond your physical body, carrying information into the space around you. That information reflects your dominant emotional state. The field you generate is continuously informing reality how to respond to you. When you exist in a state of lack, longing, or desperation, your field communicates absence. Even if your words say, "I want abundance," your frequency says, "I do not have." And the universe, responding precisely to the frequency rather than the request, delivers experiences that reinforce not having. More struggle, more delay, more confirmation of lack. The profound shift happens when your internal state changes. When you move into the feeling of already having, already being supported, already being enough, the signal you transmit changes, and reality must reorganize itself accordingly. Not because you are forcing it, but because you have changed the blueprint you are projecting. Reality has no choice but to mirror the new pattern. Consider a woman named Elena. For years, she prayed for financial relief. Every morning, she asked for money, for opportunities, for an end to stress. She followed the rituals faithfully, yet nothing seemed to improve. Her circumstances stayed the same. Bills piled up, anxiety remained constant. The reason was not a lack of sincerity, it was the frequency beneath her prayers. Her requests carried desperation. They were infused with the belief that she was missing something essential. Her energy said, "I am unsafe, I am lacking, I need." And so reality kept delivering situations that matched that signal. One evening, exhausted and emotionally drained, Elena stopped asking. She sat quietly in her small apartment and shifted her attention to what was already present. The warmth of a cup of tea, the softness of a blanket, the simple safety of having shelter. She allowed herself to feel appreciation, not as a technique, but as a genuine emotional state. In that moment, nothing changed externally, but internally everything shifted. Her nervous system relaxed, her sense of self softened. She felt abundant, not because she had more, but because she was no longer focused on absence. Within weeks, opportunities appeared. A former colleague reached out, an unexpected refund arrived. A creative project received funding. The universe had not suddenly decided to help her. It had been responding all along. The signal had changed. This is the mechanism most people overlook. They repeat affirmations from emptiness. They visualize from longing. They wonder why manifestation isn't working. But manifestation is always working. It is never off. It is responding with absolute accuracy to the frequency you sustain. The universe does not differentiate between what you want and what you fear. It does not interpret context. It does not analyze language. It reads vibration. If your attention is fixed on debt, the universe does not hear, "I want freedom." It hears debt. If your focus is on loneliness, it does not hear, "I desire connection." It receives loneliness and reflects it back. This is why ancient wisdom traditions emphasized attention as creative power. Where your awareness goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, experience forms. Not through control or manipulation, but through resonance. Reality follows the path of least resistance, and that path is your dominant state of being. Now consider how this plays out in daily life. Imagine your consciousness as a radio transmitter. Every thought adjusts the dial. Every emotion clarifies or distorts the signal. When your inner state is coherent and aligned, the signal is clear. The quantum field responds by collapsing possibilities into experiences that match that clarity. A man named Marcus owned a small bookshop that was failing. Sales declined, stress increased. He tried new strategies, longer hours, marketing adjustments. Nothing worked. One morning, sitting alone in his empty store, he noticed something important. Every thought about his business produced anxiety in his chest. Every customer triggered desperation. His entire field was saturated with fear. Instead of changing his strategy again, Marcus changed his state. He focused not on outcomes, but on feeling. He sat quietly and embodied the internal sensation of success, ease, confidence, enjoyment. He allowed that feeling to become familiar. Then he went about his day from that state. His actions stayed the same, but the energy behind them shifted. Customers felt welcomed rather than pressured. The space felt calm instead of tense. Within months, his business transformed, not through effort, but through alignment. The external world reorganized itself to match his internal coherence. This reveals a crucial truth. The universe is not judging your desires. It is not testing you. It is not deciding your fate. It is responding. Two people can take identical actions and get entirely different results because the frequency behind the action is different. Action does not create outcomes. State does. When you move through life from trust, reality reflects support. When you move from scarcity, reality reflects struggle. Not as punishment, not as karma, but as the natural function of resonance. Life is not happening to you. It is happening through you, responding moment by moment to who you are being. The invitation, then, is simple but profound. Stop trying to convince the universe. Stop asking from lack. Stop forcing outcomes. Instead, cultivate the internal state that matches what you desire. Become the frequency first. Reality will follow. Here is where responsibility truly enters the picture. And it is not the kind of responsibility that feels heavy or punitive. It is the kind that is liberating, because it returns power to you. Once you understand that you are not a victim of circumstances, not a passive observer trapped inside conditions you did not choose, but an active participant shaping experience through your vibrational signature, something fundamental shifts. You can no longer outsource your inner state to the outside world. You can no longer say, "I will feel peaceful when things improve," or "I will feel confident once this works out." That sequence is an illusion. The order has always been reversed. You must become the one who shifts first. This is the master key that most people never receive, or receive but do not use. They wait for proof before they believe. They wait for the manifestation before they embody the frequency. They wait for life to give permission before they allow themselves to change internally. But creation does not work that way. Embodiment precedes evidence. Frequency moves first, form follows second. Think of a gardener planting seeds into fertile soil. The gardener does not dig the seeds up every day to check their progress. They do not panic when no green shoots appear after a few hours or even a few days. The gardener understands that something real is happening beneath the surface, even when nothing is visible yet. Roots are forming, the shell is breaking open, life is reorganizing itself in darkness. The gardener waters the soil, protects it, and trusts the process. Your desires function in exactly the same way. When you plant them in the field of consciousness through clear intention and emotional alignment, the process begins immediately. But most people sabotage the germination phase. They doubt, they question, they look for signs, they check constantly to see if it is working. And in doing so, they energetically uproot the seed before it has a chance to break through the surface. This is why certainty is more powerful than hope. Hope still carries doubt. Hope says, maybe this will happen. Certainty says it is already done in the unseen, and I am simply allowing it to arrive in the seen. When you hold that level of knowing, you stop interfering, you stop micromanaging reality, you stop trying to control how and when things should unfold. You maintain the frequency, and you allow the universe to handle the orchestration. Now, it is important to address a subtle but critical distinction: manifesting from alignment versus manifesting from ego. These two frequencies can produce very different outcomes, even if the external results look similar at first. There was a woman named Victoria who learned about manifestation and immediately began using it to outshine others in her field. Her desires were focused on recognition, status, superiority. She visualized awards, public praise, being seen as more successful than her peers, and in a sense, it worked. Opportunities came, her name became visible, people praised her work. From the outside, she appeared successful. But internally, something was wrong. The fulfillment never arrived, the joy was fleeting, the recognition felt hollow. Instead of connection, she felt more isolated than before. Instead of satisfaction, she felt a quiet anxiety that she had to maintain her position. Why? Because her intention was rooted in separation, not contribution. Her frequency was about taking rather than giving, proving rather than expressing. The universe will always respond to your signal, but it will also preserve the quality of that signal. Manifestations born from ego carry the same energetic signature as the desire itself. If the desire is rooted in scarcity, competition, or fear of being less than, the outcome will reflect that. It may look like success, but it will feel empty. It may solve one problem while creating several new ones. This is the teaching that is rarely discussed. Manifestation is not only about getting what you want. It is about evolving into someone whose desires are aligned with a higher level of consciousness. When what you want naturally contributes to others, when your success creates expansion rather than contraction, when your abundance allows more life to flow through you rather than stop with you, the universe responds with extraordinary support. A man named David learned this through experience. He was highly gifted in technology, capable of building systems that could help thousands of people. For years, he guarded his knowledge closely. He believed that keeping his method secret was the only way to stay ahead. He experienced some success, but it always felt fragile. Projects stalled. Opportunities appeared and disappeared. Progress required constant effort. What he did not realize was that his energy was clenched. He was operating from a closed fist, and the universe mirrored that state perfectly. One day, after a moment of clarity, David decided to share everything he knew. He began teaching openly. He published his techniques. He helped others without expecting anything in return. From that moment, his trajectory shifted dramatically. Collaborations emerged effortlessly. Funding arrived for projects he had abandoned. Doors opened that he did not even know existed. Not because he had suddenly become more deserving, but because his frequency had moved from scarcity to abundance, from hoarding to circulation, from separation to connection. The universe responds not just to what you want, but to why you want it, and from which level of consciousness you are asking. This brings us to another misunderstanding that keeps people stuck: the relationship between emotion and creation. You may have heard that you need to feel good to manifest, but that framing is incomplete. What you actually need is emotional coherence. Forced positivity does not work. Suppressing difficult emotions does not work. Pretending you are happy when you are not only creates internal conflict, and the universe responds to that incoherence, not the smile you put on your face. Emotional coherence means that when you think about your desire, the feeling beneath it matches the state of already having it. That feeling is often not excitement, but relief. Not euphoria, but peace. It is the quiet knowing that this is handled, that it is safe, that it is unfolding. You are not trying to convince yourself, you are remembering a state. This is not delusion, it is alignment. In the quantum field, time is not linear. The version of you who already embodies the fulfilled state exists now as a parallel probability. When you match that frequency emotionally, you begin collapsing that probability into your current experience. A painter named Iris struggled for years to get her work into galleries. She submitted portfolios relentlessly. She attended events. She networked constantly. Every action was infused with need. She wanted validation. She wanted permission to feel successful. Nothing opened. One evening, exhausted, she stopped trying to sell her art. She entered her studio simply to paint for the joy of painting. She let go of outcomes. She followed what moved her. As she painted, she felt the fulfillment she had been chasing externally. She felt whole. She felt complete. She felt like an artist, regardless of recognition. Weeks later, a gallery owner who had previously rejected her encountered one of her paintings by chance in a coffee shop. The peace stopped her instantly. She did not remember Iris's name, but the work spoke clearly. She asked who the artist was, tracked Iris down, and offered her a solo exhibition. Nothing had changed about Iris's technical skill in that short time. What changed was her frequency. She shifted from creating from lack to creating from fulfillment, and reality reorganized itself accordingly. This is the subtle intelligence operating beneath manifestation. The universe is not responding to your effort. It is not responding to how hard you are trying. It is responding to the quality of your presence, the coherence of your emotional field, and the state you are embodying. When you stop trying to get and start allowing yourself to be, reality listens and it answers. If what you are sensing right now feels less like learning something new and more like remembering something ancient and familiar, that is not accidental. When truth resonates, it does not arrive as information alone. It arrives as recognition. And if this recognition is stirring something inside you, then the invitation is not simply to follow a channel or consume ideas, but to stay attuned to a frequency. The more you immerse yourself in this way of perceiving reality, the more consistently you return to it, the faster your outer world begins to reorganize itself to match your inner state. This is not about passive consumption. It is about anchoring yourself in a state of conscious creation, again and again, until it becomes your natural orientation. There is, however, a deeper layer of manifestation that is rarely explored, even among those who understand frequency and alignment. It is the role of stillness. Most people approach creation as an active pursuit. They believe they must affirm more, visualize more, plan more, and do more. But the most potent creative force is not found in constant movement. It is found in the space between movements. It is found in the moment when effort dissolves into surrender, when attachment to outcome relaxes, and when you rest in the quiet knowing that the universe is already responding. There was a merchant named Samuel who learned this lesson through collapse rather than theory. After a business failure wiped out everything he had built, he spent months pacing his empty warehouse, consumed by anxious thinking. He made plans, revised them, discarded them, and made new ones. He called contacts relentlessly, tried to force opportunities into existence, and exhausted himself mentally and emotionally. Nothing worked. His mind was loud, frantic, and endlessly strategizing, but reality remained unmoved. One night, completely depleted, Samuel stopped. Not because he had solved anything, but because he no longer had the energy to keep pushing. He sat alone in the silence of the warehouse and, for the first time in months, did not try to fix his life. He did not visualize success or plan his comeback. He simply sat. In that stillness, something unexpected emerged. Not a solution, not a strategy, but a calm certainty. A quiet inner assurance that things were unfolding in ways he could not yet see. From that moment, the current shifted. The following morning, a former partner reached out with an unexpected proposal. By the end of the week, multiple opportunities appeared, each more aligned and expansive than anything Samuel had tried to engineer through effort. The universe had not suddenly become generous. Samuel had stopped interfering. By releasing control, he allowed universal intelligence to move through him rather than attempting to overpower it. This is the paradox at the heart of conscious creation. The less you force, the more power flows. The more you relax into trust, the faster manifestation unfolds. Creation is not about wrestling reality into submission. It is about aligning yourself with a current that has always been moving in your favor and allowing it to carry you. Stillness is not inaction, it is coherence. It is the absence of resistance. And in that absence, intelligence moves freely. Another essential dimension of manifestation is vibrational specificity. The universe responds with extraordinary precision, but it requires clarity from you. Not clarity about every detail of how something must unfold, but clarity about the essence of what you are calling in. What does the experience feel like? What is the emotional tone of having it? What state of being does it bring online within you? A woman named Helena struggled with this distinction for months. She wanted to manifest a new home and spent her energy visualizing specific houses, neighborhoods, layouts, and features. She monitored listings obsessively. Nothing materialized. Eventually, she shifted her approach. Instead of focusing on form, she focused on feeling. She asked herself what the new home represented: safety, peace, beauty, a sense of arrival. She began saturating herself in those feelings, letting them become familiar and embodied, even while living in her current space. Within 6 weeks, a home appeared through an unexpected channel. It was not something she had ever visualized in detail, but it matched her emotional blueprint perfectly. The universe had delivered the essence of her desire with flawless accuracy. This reveals a crucial principle. Do not become attached to the form, be devoted to the frequency. The how belongs to the universe. Your responsibility is to maintain the vibrational match. Gratitude plays a powerful and often misunderstood role in this process. It is not merely a polite habit or a positive thinking exercise. Gratitude is a creative force. When you feel genuine gratitude for something that has not yet appeared, you are broadcasting a signal that says, "This is already complete." You are operating from the end rather than the beginning. And the quantum field, reading that signal, begins compressing the distance between where you are and where you are going. A healer named Thomas discovered this during a long struggle with chronic illness. Doctors could not offer clear answers. Treatments failed. His emotional state was saturated with frustration and fear. Eventually, someone suggested a radical practice, thanking his body for the healing already taking place beneath the surface. At first, it felt absurd. His symptoms were still there. Nothing had changed externally, but he committed to the practice anyway. Each morning, he placed his hand on his chest and expressed sincere gratitude for his body's intelligence, for its resilience, for the healing that was unfolding invisibly. What changed first was not his condition, but his relationship to it. He stopped fighting his body. He stopped bracing against symptoms. As resistance dissolved, something profound occurred. His nervous system relaxed. His immune response stabilized. Over time, medical tests began to normalize. Energy returned. Healing emerged not through force, but through a shift from resistance to appreciation. Gratitude does not deny difficulty. It acknowledges intelligence at work beyond what you can currently perceive. It trusts orchestration even in uncertainty. At the foundation of all manifestation lies belief. Not surface-level beliefs you repeat, but deep assumptions about how reality functions. These assumptions act as filters, shaping what you perceive and what you allow. If you assume that life is difficult, that success requires struggle, that support is rare, the universe will reflect that worldview faithfully. A craftsman named Harold embodied this truth for most of his life. He believed that anything worthwhile required suffering. Every achievement came through exhaustion. Every opportunity demanded sacrifice. His reality matched his belief with perfect accuracy. One afternoon, watching a bird build a nest, Harold noticed something that unsettled him. The bird was not struggling. It was not forcing. It moved naturally, and everything it needed appeared at the right time. That observation cracked his belief system. What if ease were possible? What if life wanted to support him rather than test him? As he began to entertain this new assumption, small shifts occurred. Projects completed smoothly. Opportunities arose through conversation rather than effort. Eventually, larger manifestations followed: collaborative partnerships, financial flow, and success that felt nourishing instead of draining. His world reorganized because his internal architecture changed. Beliefs are not enemies to fight, they are structures to examine. When you identify a limiting belief, you do not need to destroy it. You simply choose a new one and begin living from it. The universe responds instantly to that choice. What you are exploring here is only one strand of a much larger tapestry. Consciousness operates as a broadcast system, and most people transmit unconsciously. When you learn to shift from unconscious emission to intentional embodiment, creation stops feeling like work and starts feeling natural. There is one final truth that must be understood. Between intention and manifestation exists a sacred pause. Most people misinterpret this pause as failure. They panic, they doubt, they check constantly for signs. But this pause is not emptiness, it is gestation. Every desire held with clarity and emotional alignment begins forming immediately in the quantum field. But form requires coordination. People must be moved, timing must align, resources must converge. The universe is arranging countless variables simultaneously. Your role during this pause is not to interfere. It is to maintain coherence, to trust, to hold the frequency steady while unseen intelligence completes its work. When you stop demanding proof and start embodying trust, reality responds. Not eventually, not someday, now. A musician named Juliet understood this principle not as theory, but as lived reality. She carried a vision for an album that felt unmistakably inspired, as if it had arrived through her rather than from her. The music felt complete inside her long before a single note was recorded. Yet externally, nothing supported the vision. There was no funding, no label interest, no obvious pathway forward. From a conventional perspective, it made no sense to proceed. Instead of panicking or abandoning the vision, Juliet treated it like a seed placed into fertile soil. She did not demand proof that it would grow. She did not dig it up to inspect it. She tended to it quietly. Each day, she showed up to her practice, not to force results, but to stay in relationship with the feeling of completion. She composed, refined, and played from a place of devotion rather than urgency. She held the inner knowing that the album already existed in essence, even if it had not yet taken form. She did not speak about it obsessively or seek validation. She did not refresh her email compulsively or chase opportunities with desperation. She stayed in creative flow and trusted timing she could not yet see. 7 months later, a chain of synchronicities unfolded with almost cinematic precision. A producer she had met years earlier reached out unexpectedly. A grant she had forgotten she applied for was approved. A professional studio offered her free recording time due to a last-minute cancellation. Within 3 months, the album was complete. But the true magic was not in the funding, the studio, or the producer. It was in Juliet's unwavering trust during the pause, her ability to maintain her frequency without needing immediate confirmation. She did not collapse into doubt during the silence. She understood that silence was not absence, it was preparation. This is where most people fail in manifestation. Not because they lack desire or discipline, but because they abandon the process during the invisible phase. They interpret the pause as rejection rather than gestation. They assume nothing is happening because nothing is visible. Yet the universe is always working, always coordinating, always arranging the unseen variables that make visible outcomes possible. Your trust during that unseen phase is what allows the seen phase to arrive. Before going further, pause for a moment and choose a word. Just one word that captures the energy you are consciously deciding to embody now. Not something you wish you felt, not something you hope will come later, but the frequency you are selecting in this moment. When you name it, you are not merely expressing intention, you are imprinting the field with your energetic signature, declaring who you are becoming. Now let us explore the mirror principle, because this is where manifestation becomes unmistakably clear. The external world is not happening to you, it is happening from you. Every interaction, every relationship, every recurring pattern is reflecting some aspect of your internal state. This does not mean you are at fault for difficult experiences. It means you are not powerless, and power, once reclaimed, becomes transformative. A woman named Bonnie began noticing a disturbing pattern. Wherever she went, people seemed critical and dismissive. At work, her ideas were questioned harshly. At home, her feelings were minimized. Even casual interactions carried an undertone of judgment. She tried changing her environment, switching jobs, distancing herself from certain relationships, but the pattern followed her everywhere. Eventually, a moment of insight stopped her cold. She realized that the most relentless critic in her life was not external. It was the voice inside her own mind. She spoke to herself with cruelty, constantly correcting, doubting, and diminishing herself. That internal dialogue was not private. It was energetic. And the universe, acting as a perfect mirror, reflected it back through other people. Bonnie began practicing something radically simple. Each time self-judgment arose, she paused. She responded internally with the same compassion she would offer someone she loved. She replaced condemnation with curiosity, harshness with understanding. Slowly, her internal field softened. As it did, the external world changed. Colleagues who had once been critical became supportive. Family members who had seemed dismissive grew attentive. The same people behaved differently because the signal they were responding to had changed. The mirror had no choice but to reflect a new frequency. This is the power of taking responsibility for your vibrational output, not responsibility rooted in guilt, but responsibility rooted in agency. When you recognize that you are generating the field, you regain the ability to shift it. Another dimension of manifestation that is often overlooked is the distinction between allowing and controlling. Most people approach desire with tension. They grip outcomes tightly. They attempt to micromanage timing, methods, and conditions. But manifestation does not move through a clenched fist. It flows through openness. Allowing is not passivity, it is receptivity. It is the willingness to let the universe deliver in ways that exceed your imagination rather than conform to it. A woman named Violet lived in constant effort. She planned everything meticulously, her career trajectory, her relationships, her finances. When anything deviated from the plan, anxiety took over, and she tried to force reality back into alignment. Life felt like an endless battle for control. Eventually, exhaustion created space for insight. Violet realized that perhaps her need to control was not protecting her, but blocking her. She chose a radical shift. Instead of managing outcomes, she focused on embodying the feeling she wanted her life to hold: ease, fulfillment, trust. She released timelines. She stopped dictating form. In that space of allowing, life surprised her. Opportunities appeared that were more aligned than anything she had planned. Relationships deepened organically. Resources flowed through unexpected channels. Her life did not improve because she worked harder. It improved because she stopped resisting the intelligence moving through her. This leads to a profound realization. You are not separate from the universe. You are not negotiating with an external force. You are an expression of it. Manifestation is not about persuading some distant power to grant your desires. It is about aligning different layers of yourself so that your conscious intentions harmonize with the deeper intelligence already shaping your life. The universe is not outside of you, judging worthiness. It is expressing itself through you, responding to coherence or incoherence within your field. When you understand this, Manifestation ceases to be about asking and becomes about alignment. It is no longer about earning, it is about remembering. Your emotions play a critical role in this process. They are not merely reactions, they are broadcasts. Every emotional state carries a frequency, and that frequency functions as an instruction to the quantum field. Joy says, more of this. Trust says, continue unfolding. Fear says, there is danger. Worry says, prepare for problems. This is why sustained worry is so counterproductive. You believe you are being cautious, but energetically you are rehearsing unwanted outcomes. The field responds not to your logic, but to your emotional signal. This does not mean suppressing fear or pretending everything is fine. It means allowing emotions to move through you without letting them define your broadcast. You feel them fully, then you choose what frequency you will sustain. A business owner named Franklin learned this lesson under pressure. During a company crisis, he entered work each day braced for conflict. He expected resistance, anticipated problems, and prepared for disaster. And disaster appeared. Meetings dissolved into arguments. Projects stalled. His expectation was calling difficulty into being. After learning about emotional frequency, Franklin experimented. Before entering the office, he sat in his car and deliberately cultivated calm and trust. He acknowledged the challenges but refused to saturate himself in crisis. He chose to hold the frequency of resolution. Within weeks, the workplace transformed. Cooperation replaced conflict. Solutions emerged where obstacles had stood. Franklin had not changed external circumstances directly. He had changed his frequency, and because he was the leader, his state influenced the collective field. This reveals something essential. Your frequency does not only shape your personal experience, it affects the systems, relationships, and environments you participate in. You are always broadcasting, and others are responding, often unconsciously. When you understand this, life becomes less about control and more about coherence, less about struggle and more about alignment. You stop asking whether manifestation works and start asking which frequency you are embodying now. The universe has always been responding. The only question is what signal you are sending. It ripples outward and influences the field around you in ways you often cannot measure immediately, but you can feel. When you sustain a coherent, elevated frequency, calm, trust, clarity, compassion, you become a kind of tuning fork. Your presence stabilizes rooms, your energy softens tension, your steadiness invites other nervous systems to settle. This is real leadership, not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet kind that transmits alignment so clearly that others naturally begin to attune to it. This is also genuine service. Service is not rescuing people, correcting them, or carrying their emotional weight. Service is holding a frequency so clean that it offers others a doorway back to themselves. You do not fix people. You become a field in which they remember their own coherence. And in a world that is constantly pulling attention outward, that kind of presence is rare and powerful. Now let's go deeper into something that confuses many people: the relationship between specificity and surrender in manifestation. There is a balance here, and it is a living balance, not a formula. On one hand, the universe responds to clarity. The clearer you are about the essence of what you want, the more precisely reality can mirror it. On the other hand, if you become rigidly attached to how it must arrive, you reduce the universe's options and create friction in your own field. Your mind starts gripping the wheel, trying to direct a process that is larger than your conscious control. A woman named Flora learned this the hard way. She wanted to manifest a romantic partnership, and she approached the desire with intense detail. She had a list of specific attributes, specific lifestyle markers, even a preferred timeline. She visualized meetings in very particular places, scripted conversations, imagined the exact sequence of events that would lead to commitment. Months passed. Nothing happened, or rather, things happened, but nothing aligned with the narrow corridor she had defined. Her hope turned into frustration, and her frustration turned into a subtle resistance that sat underneath everything. Then a realization broke through. She was trying to design the universe's delivery system. She was not only asking for love, she was insisting on the packaging, the route, and the schedule. That insistence created tension. And tension is a frequency. It tells the field, "I don't trust you." So Flora shifted. She got crystal clear on the essence. She asked herself what she truly wanted to experience in partnership, beyond appearances and timelines. The answers were simple and profound. Deep trust, genuine joy, shared vision, mutual respect, emotional safety, and a love that expanded rather than contracted her. She began embodying those feelings, first treating them as states to live in, not rewards to wait for. Then she released the form. She stopped dictating where, when, and how. Within a month, she met someone who exceeded everything on her original list, but in ways she could not have predicted. The relationship came through a chain of synchronicities she never could have engineered. The universe delivered the essence with precision, and the form was more elegant than anything her controlling mind would have selected. This is the dance of conscious creation. Be specific about the frequency and surrendered about the form. Devotion to essence, openness to delivery. When you trust universal intelligence, you allow it to access possibilities you have not even conceived of. You stop shrinking the infinite into your limited blueprint. Now let's talk about worthiness, because this is one of the most common blocks, quiet, persistent, and often invisible. Many people carry a belief that they must earn the right to receive, that they must prove themselves through achievement, suffering, or moral perfection before life is allowed to bless them. They treat abundance like a prize, love like a reward, ease like something only other people deserve. But the universe does not operate through judgment. It operates through resonance. You do not have to convince the universe that you deserve abundance. You have to stop rejecting it. You do not have to earn love. You have to open to it. The gate is not outside you. The gate is inside you. A man named Harvey grew up surrounded by messages of limitation. He was taught to shrink, to not take up too much space, to question whether he deserved good things. Compliments felt uncomfortable, as if receiving them was dangerous. Success triggered guilt, as if achieving something meant he had stolen it from someone else. Without realizing it, Harvey had built a pattern of refusing blessings the moment they approached. Opportunities came, but he hesitated. Support appeared, but he distrusted it. Love offered itself, but he looked for reasons it would end. Eventually, Harvey saw the pattern clearly. His worthiness was not the issue. The universe was not withholding. The only thing withholding was his permission to receive. He did not need to become worthy. He needed to recognize that he already was, and then allow that recognition to change how he moved through life. Harvey began a simple practice. Each morning, he placed his hand on his heart and said, slowly and sincerely, "I am worthy of ease. I am worthy of joy. I am worthy of abundance. I give myself full permission to receive." At first, it felt like empty language. His body resisted, his mind argued, but he continued. Over time, the practice rewired something subtle. He began accepting compliments with grace. He stopped interrogating every good thing that arrived. He started receiving support without suspicion. And then the floodgates opened, not because the universe finally decided he was worthy, but because he removed the energetic barrier of self-denial. Worthiness is not something you achieve. It is something you recognize. You were born worthy. The real question is not whether you deserve your desires. The real question is whether you are allowing yourself to receive them. Now consider timing, because timing is where the ego tends to panic. The universe operates on divine timing, not human impatience. What feels like delay to you is often positioning. Things are being coordinated beyond your sight, people are being prepared, skills are maturing, circumstances are rearranging, resources are moving toward convergence. The pause is not punishment, it is preparation. A musician named Jerome wanted to launch his career for years. He pushed hard, chased validation, measured his worth by external responses, and wondered why doors would not open. Eventually, he surrendered the timeline not in resignation, but in release. He stopped making his creative life dependent on someone else's approval. He created because he loved it. He built consistency. He deepened skill. He stabilized his emotional field. Externally, it seemed like nothing was happening for a while, but invisibly, everything was being arranged. Connections were forming. Algorithms, audiences, and collaborators were aligning. Then, when timing clicked into place, multiple manifestations arrived simultaneously. A chance meeting, an unexpected collaboration, a viral moment that opened doors overnight. What looked like sudden was actually the visible result of a long, invisible orchestration. Jerome had not been ready earlier. His frequency was still unstable. His identity was still attached to external proof. If success had arrived too soon, it would have fractured him. The delay was not withholding, it was protection. It was the universe refusing to let him manifest a reality he was not yet prepared to hold. This is why trust is essential. Not blind faith that everything will happen exactly as you imagine, but deep trust that universal intelligence sees a bigger picture and is coordinating for your highest good. When you trust divine timing, you stop forcing, you stop panicking. You maintain your frequency and allow the universe to deliver at the precise moment it can land sustainably. Now let's shift into something even deeper, the practice of living prayer. Most people think prayer is asking, but true prayer is communion. It is the recognition that every moment is a conversation between your consciousness and the consciousness of creation itself. Your gratitude is a prayer. Your peace is a prayer. Your appreciation is a transmission. Every elevated emotion becomes an instruction to the field, and the field echoes it back through experience. A shopkeeper named Elmer transformed his struggling business not through strategy, but through sacred attention. He did not perform elaborate rituals. He did not repeat affirmations with forced enthusiasm. He simply treated each moment as holy. When he swept the floor, he felt gratitude for the space. When he organized inventory, he appreciated the abundance represented by each item. When customers entered, he silently blessed them. He made his day a continuous prayer of reverence. Something shifted. People felt drawn to his store without understanding why. They described it as warm, peaceful, different. Opportunities appeared that he had not chased. His business flourished, not because he marketed better, but because he turned his work into worship. This is the shift from transactional relating to sacred communion. When you live as if every act can be an offering, you stop waiting for special moments to connect with universal intelligence. You live in constant dialogue, and constant dialogue creates a coherent field that magnetizes outcomes with ease. Now let's address challenges, because your relationship to obstacles determines whether they slow you down or strengthen you. Most people interpret obstacles as proof that manifestation is failing, but obstacles often serve as redirection, refinement, or preparation. Contrast is information. It reveals where your frequency is misaligned, where old beliefs still operate, where you are broadcasting mixed signals. A woman named Trudy kept encountering the same business pattern. Projects would start with promise, then hit unexpected roadblocks. At first, she believed she was cursed, or that the universe was against her, but then she reframed. What if these challenges were feedback? What if they were showing her exactly what needed calibration? Instead of resisting, Trudy began thanking the contrast. When difficulty arose, she paused and asked, "What is this revealing about my vibrational state?" Often, she discovered fear beneath the surface, fear of success, doubt about her capacity, uncertainty about her right to receive. The external problems were mirroring internal hesitation. As she worked with those patterns, challenges became easier to navigate. Solutions appeared faster. What once derailed her for weeks became a minor correction. The universe was not punishing her. It was guiding her toward greater alignment through feedback. Difficulties are not evidence of failure. They are invitations to recalibrate. When you meet them with curiosity rather than resistance, they become accelerators rather than roadblocks. Finally, let's talk about authenticity, because authenticity is one of the most powerful frequencies you can embody. The universe does not respond to the mask you wear. It responds to the truth you transmit. When you try to manifest while performing, trying to be what you think you should be, your signal becomes distorted. There is static. Your field carries contradiction. Look at me on the surface. I'm not safe to be seen underneath. And reality reflects confusion. A musician named Byron spent years imitating what was popular. He copied trends, crafted an image, and made music that fit industry formulas. He believed that fitting in would produce success, but nothing landed. Rejection followed rejection. His work felt technically competent, yet it lacked magnetism. It did not carry his soul. Exhausted by pretending, Byron stopped. He created from raw honesty. He made music that was uniquely his, unconcerned with whether it would sell. He focused on what felt true, rather than what looked marketable. The shift was immediate, not because his skill suddenly changed, but because his energetic signature became clear. Authenticity is unmistakable. It is a coherent signal, and the universe responds to coherence with precision. Byron found his audience not through better marketing, but through genuine resonance. People did not just listen. They felt seen. They recognized themselves in his truth. That is what authenticity does. It collapses distance. It creates connection. And connection is a form of abundance. This is the liberation that comes from dropping performance. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to have everything figured out. You simply have to be real. The universe celebrates authenticity because it is the clearest broadcast you can offer. When you are authentic, you stop trying to manifest a life that proves something. You begin to allow a life that expresses something. Your true essence and reality mirrors it back with startling precision. Here is something about the ripple effect of your frequency that most people rarely pause to consider. When you hold a coherent, elevated internal state, you are not only shaping your own experience, you are influencing the energetic field around you. Your frequency becomes a reference point, a silent signal that others unconsciously attune to. This happens without effort, without intention, and often without awareness. It is simply the natural law of resonance at work. This is why being in the presence of someone who is deeply aligned feels different. Their calm steadies you. Their clarity sharpens your own. Their groundedness creates a sense of safety that words cannot produce. You may not be able to explain it, but your nervous system recognizes it. Their field interacts with yours and invites it into coherence. There was a woman named Tessa who worked in an office defined by stress, tension, and constant interpersonal conflict. Conversations escalated quickly. People carried unspoken resentment. The atmosphere felt heavy. While everyone around her was caught in cycles of reaction, Tessa maintained an unshakable center of peace, not because she was detached or indifferent, but because she had learned how to regulate her internal state, regardless of external conditions. She did not try to correct anyone. She did not preach positivity or attempt to fix the culture. She simply held her frequency. Over time, something subtle but undeniable began to shift. People who were normally reactive became calmer around her. Conflicts that would usually spiral found resolution more quickly. Conversations softened. Decisions became clearer. Her steady vibration acted like a tuning fork, inviting coherence without a single word spoken. This is true influence, not persuasion, not dominance, not control. Influence through embodiment. When you maintain your frequency in the midst of chaos, you become a lighthouse. You do not chase ships. You simply remain steady, and others find their way by your presence. Your stability gives people permission to access their own. And as coherence spreads from one nervous system to another, the entire field begins to rise. This is how individual transformation creates collective shift. The universe operates through resonance. Like attracts like. Frequency calls to frequency. When you sustain a stable, elevated vibration, you naturally magnetize people, circumstances, and opportunities that match it. You do not need to convince anyone. You do not need to prove anything. Your frequency speaks first, and reality responds. Now, let us examine a critical distinction that determines whether manifestation flows or stalls. The difference between hope and certainty. Most people approach creation from hope. They say, "I hope this works. I hope the universe hears me. I hope things change." But hope carries uncertainty. It vibrates with maybe. It signals that the outcome is outside your grasp and still in question. Certainty is different. Certainty says the work is already done in the unseen. Certainty does not wait for confirmation. It does not scan the environment for signs. It lives from the assumption of completion. In the quantum field, where time is not linear, certainty collapses probability into form. Doubt keeps it suspended. A woman named Linda wanted to manifest a major life transition. For months, she hoped for it, prayed for it, wished intensely. But beneath the hope lived fear. Fear that it would not happen. Fear that she would be disappointed again. The universe responded accurately to that mixed signal. Then something shifted. Linda stopped hoping and started knowing. She lived as if the transition had already occurred in the invisible realm. She made decisions from that place. She spoke from that place. She felt the relief, confidence, and quiet excitement of completion, even though nothing external had changed yet. Within weeks, reality began catching up. Conversations opened doors, opportunities aligned. What had once seemed impossible unfolded through a series of synchronicities. The universe was not rewarding her confidence. It was responding to the frequency of completion she was broadcasting. Certainty removed resistance, and without resistance, manifestation accelerated. This leads to a deeper truth that reframes everything. Manifestation is not about acquiring things. It is about becoming someone who naturally receives. It is an evolutionary process, not a transactional one. When you focus only on the external result, you miss the real gift, the transformation of identity. Every desire you experience is actually an invitation. It is your consciousness calling you to expand into a new version of yourself. When you want abundance, you are being invited into the consciousness of abundance. When you want love, you are being invited into the capacity to give and receive love fully. When you want creative success, you are being invited into courage, expression, and self-trust. The external manifestation is simply confirmation that the internal shift has occurred. This is why the universe sometimes gives you what you need before it gives you what you want. It is not denying your desire, it is preparing you to hold it without collapsing under its weight. Delays, detours, and unexpected paths are not mistakes. They are part of becoming someone who can sustain the frequency of what you are calling in. They build nervous system capacity, they refine clarity, they stabilize identity. A man named Cliffy experienced this firsthand. He achieved his dream of opening a successful gallery, believing it would be the final destination. Instead, it became a doorway. The gallery led him to teaching. Teaching led to community programs. Community programs led to public art initiatives that reached thousands. Each manifestation opened space for deeper contribution. Cliffy never stopped creating because he understood something essential. Manifestation is not about arrival, it is about unfolding. It is the continuous expansion of potential into form. There is no finish line, there is only growth. This is the infinite game of conscious creation. Every fulfilled desire creates space for new ones. Every level reached reveals new horizons. The universe is not a limited wish-granting machine. It is an infinite field that celebrates your evolution. And here is where responsibility deepens. When you understand that you are co-creating reality through your frequency, you become aware that every thought, emotion, and belief carries impact beyond your personal life. What you broadcast does not stop at you, it ripples outward into the collective field. Your fear feeds collective fear, your peace feeds collective peace, your love feeds collective love. This is not meant to create pressure or guilt, it is meant to awaken awareness of your power. Every time you choose coherence over reactivity, you cast a vote for a different reality. Every time you refuse to meet hatred with hatred or fear with fear, you introduce a new frequency into the collective field. And that frequency matters more than you realize. The universe is not responding to individual signals in isolation. It is weaving together the frequencies of all consciousness to form shared reality. When enough individuals choose alignment, the collective field shifts. This is how real change happens, not through force, not through domination, but through resonance. So the question becomes simple and profound. What frequency are you choosing to contribute? What signal are you consistently broadcasting? Because that signal matters, not only for your personal manifestations, but for the evolution of consciousness itself. And if this is landing in you not as new information, but as an ancient remembering, then the invitation is clear. Subscribing here is not about collecting more videos or adding information to your mind. It is about staying coherent with a frequency. The more consistently you immerse yourself in this understanding, the more it becomes your internal operating system. Over time, it stops being something you think about and starts being something you live from. Hitting subscribe is not a passive action, it is a declaration. It is you choosing to remain aligned with the consciousness of deliberate creation rather than drifting back into unconscious reaction. And here is the truth that brings everything full circle. The universe has been serving you your entire life. Every experience you have lived through, desired or undesired, has been a precise reflection of the vibrational state you were holding at that moment, not as judgment, not as reward or punishment, but as feedback, as information, as a mirror. The universe has never been against you. It has never been withholding. It has never been testing your worth. It has been responding faithfully, moment by moment, to the signal you were transmitting. When life felt supportive, it was because your frequency was open. When life felt resistant, it was because your frequency was constricted. The universe did not change. You did. Now that you understand this, now that the mechanics are visible, you stand at a choice point. You can continue operating unconsciously, repeating the same emotional patterns, wondering why the same situations keep cycling back into your life. Or you can step into authorship, You can become the conscious director of your frequency, choosing deliberately what you broadcast and allowing reality to reorganize itself in response. This path is not about perfection. You do not need to maintain a high vibration every moment of every day. You are human. You will have days when you feel disconnected. You will experience doubt, frustration, grief, and fear. These states are not failures. They are part of being embodied. What matters is not the occasional dip, but the baseline you return to. What matters is awareness. When you notice yourself slipping into contraction, you do not punish yourself. You gently guide yourself back. You remember. You recalibrate. The universe is infinitely patient. It is not tracking your mistakes. It is not keeping score. It responds only to what is present now, and the moment your signal shifts, its response shifts with it. There is no delay carried over from the past. There is no punishment stored in memory. There is only this moment, where your current frequency is actively shaping your next experience. This is why change can happen instantly when alignment happens internally. Reality does not need time to decide. It needs coherence to respond. As we close this transmission, allow yourself to feel what has been shared, not just intellectually, but somatically. Notice how it lands in your body. Notice what relaxes. Notice what opens. You are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are an individualized expression of it. The same intelligence that moves galaxies moves through your thoughts, emotions, and desires. Your desires are not random impulses. They are signals. They are invitations. They are the universe calling you to expand, to evolve, to express more of what you are capable of being. Every longing you feel carries intelligence. Every dream you hold is valid, not because you will necessarily receive it in the exact form you imagine, but because in pursuing it, you become someone with greater capacity, greater clarity, and greater creative power. The universe is not here to give you what you want in the way a machine dispenses rewards. It is here to help you become who you are capable of being. And in that becoming, you often discover that what you originally wanted was only the doorway. Beyond it lies something larger, richer, and more aligned than you could have conceived from your previous level of awareness. You may choose to return to this message regularly, not as entertainment, but as practice. Let it be part of how you recalibrate your frequency before engaging with the world. And if this has resonated deeply, share it with someone navigating their own awakening. When you transmit these principles to others, you strengthen your own embodiment of them. Teaching and sharing are forms of integration. They amplify coherence and create synchronistic waves that benefit everyone involved. The more individuals who understand this, embody this, and live from this consciousness, the more the collective field shifts. This is how the world changes, not through force, not through opposition, not by fighting what we do not want, but by consciously choosing to embody and broadcast frequencies of love, abundance, peace, creativity, and connection. The universe responds to collective signals just as faithfully as it responds to individual ones. When coherence reaches a tipping point, circumstances change, systems reorganize, new possibilities emerge. This is not idealism, it is resonance. So take this understanding and live it, not as a technique to get things, but as a way of being. Honor the creative partnership between your individual consciousness and universal intelligence. Tend to your frequency the way a gardener tends to soil. Choose your thoughts with care. Select your emotional responses deliberately. Align your beliefs with possibility rather than limitation. And watch as reality begins to reflect your elevated state. The universe is your servant, not in the sense that it should obey your ego, but in the sense that it is designed to respond to frequency. It is a faithful mirror, a precise echo a devoted partner in the dance of creation. And now that you see this, you cannot unsee it. The power has always been yours. The responsibility has always been yours. The creative capacity has always been yours. You are not becoming something new. You are remembering what you have always been. A conscious creator in a responsive universe, shaping reality through the frequency of your being. So move forward from this moment, not hoping that things will change, but knowing that, as you change, everything changes. Because the universe is not something separate that you need to convince or manipulate. The universe is you, experiencing itself, creating itself, evolving itself through the unique lens of your consciousness. That recognition is what sets you free. If this shifted something in you, stay with this frequency. Subscribe not to consume, but to remain anchored. The field you choose to immerse yourself in matters. That choice has creative power. The universe has been waiting for you to remember this, not because it needed you to, but because your full, conscious participation in creation is your birthright. You were never meant to be a passive recipient of reality. You were designed to be an active creator of it, and now you are. Welcome home. And understand this: the universe, as your servant, connects to something even more specific about your role here. There is a reason you are recognizing this now, while others remain asleep to it. There is a reason this truth resonates with you. It has everything to do with what you were designed to carry. The awakening you are experiencing is not random, it is timed. It is purposeful, and it points toward a deeper assignment that is now coming online within you.